Samrat, thank you so much for joining today. Anand, you and Riddhi, thanks a lot. We are talking today at a very interesting juncture in India, in Indian economy, in the world, I would say. All of you at Tata Motors Finance, uh, are very crucial when it comes to the growth of the mobility story in our country. And Samrat, I want to ask you that before COVID hit us, there was still structural slowdown when it came to mobility, and it was only 1.3% growth. What were some of the factors that contributed to this slowdown?
Oh, so thank you so much for asking that question, because I think we have been dragging along for the last 6 years. And before getting into mobility, I think it's important to note, just look at the GDP growth of the country for the last 6 years. And if you take the last 6 years GDP growth, it just came down like a domino effect. So it was 8%, 7%, 6%, 4%, and then minus 10% when COVID hit us. So overall, the GDP rate of growth has been declining, and we fell into the recession inevitably last year. We can give a lot of examples, what happened, the way the government managed the balance sheet. I'll not go into that. I'll rather go into corporate earnings. If you look at the last 5 to 6 years, corporate earnings has been depleting. If you take the top 100 companies, whether it's BSE, whether it's NSE, I think the earnings were just not growing. The valuations were going up. Now, given that earnings were not growing and companies were registering losses, they did not go into the private spending part at all. Private capital expenditure literally dried up. At the end of the day, the companies were declaring losses, and the impact then started coming into the banking sector. If you look at the banking sector, the companies who had taken large loans from big banks, public sector banks, the loans all went bad and they went into NPAs, and banks got more cautious. And when they got cautious, the liquidity, they started keeping the liquidity and not lending further, because everybody got scared that the asset solvency of the country is going into a different direction. When the liquidity started coming down, the non-banking companies like us, we only borrow from banks or we borrow from the money market, and we lend to sections of the society where nation building needs to happen. Our liquidity also froze. Added to that, there were a bunch of frauds that came into the country. ILFS came up, ILFS went belly up, and I think our liquidity situation in the non-banking sector dried up. Now look at what happened to the automotive sector. Commercial vehicles is largely a credit-driven decision. Anybody buying a commercial vehicle will need financing. So the liquidity froze. Added to that, I think some of the things structurally started changing in the commercial vehicle industry. An existing commercial truck can carry more load given the change of the rule. So, if you were able to carry 500 kgs before, it changed to 750 kgs. As a result of which, there was oversupply. The same truck was able to carry more. And this led to an oversupply of trucks in the country. And I think the automotive story started declining. Now then came the demonetization. And, commercial vehicle runs on a parallel economy. The parallel economy froze because of the demonetization, all structural and the right things to do. But it has a short-term impact. Now the demonetization came, the structural change of, this whole axle load came into perspective, and added to that, the liquidity froze. Then came the big one, GST, the formalization of tax regime. And, in commercial vehicle segment, people did not pay taxes. Now I think the government really took a bold move and came with the GST. And the last nail, to the coffin, if I may use such a drastic word, I think the BS4 to BS6 transition, the vehicle prices went up. All for a better vehicle, all for a more safer and environment-friendly vehicle, but the prices went up. So as a result of all these 5 things, in the last 3 to 4 years, it has been very anemic for the automotive sector. While I say all of this, it took us 3 to 4 years. We were all there, we were surviving, and we were looking after each other. I think it's all behind us now. I think the important part is the pandemic has taught us that corporate India is the most efficient way of operating today. Whether it is productivity, whether it is efficiency, whether it is manufacturing drive, all over, I think corporate India is very efficient. Second, I think the base effect of growth, because the GDP has shrunk so much, I think in the coming years, it is only going to grow. That is the base effect of growth is going to come. And third, the benign interest rate with Reserve Bank of India is following. I think for the last 1 year, liquidity has been flushed into the system, and the interest rate is going to stay benign for the next 2 to 3 years. And a wonderful pro-growth budget. I think the budget is so superbly poised at this point of time. To my mind, all the structural shifts have happened, and we are in for a strong bull run for the next 3 years. So if that answers your question, Shraddha.
This is very encouraging, and I'm sure everyone listening to this would feel encouraged, because yes, we have to go up. Indian economy has to move in, and we have, and mobility is such a part of the lifeline of our economy. And that brings me to the question. I have this, that India became the fourth largest auto market in 2019, displacing Germany with about 3.99 million units sold in passenger and commercial vehicles. Tell me, what does this mean for Tata Motor Finance? What does it mean today for you?
So, Tata Motor Finance in the last, 4 years have been trying to transform itself and cope up with the structural shifts that is happening into the economy and the logistics space. For us, we are no more a vehicle financing company. We are an ecosystem financing company. Tata Motors Limited ecosystem comprises suppliers who are supplying components to Tata Motors, dealers who are primarily picking up the vehicles and distributing it to the transporters, the transporters who are buying the vehicles, buying the commercial trucks, and under the transporters, a bunch of retailers who are aggregating, the first-time users or the drivers who cannot make a livelihood on their own. They are aggregating at the transporter level. So I think all this forms the ecosystem financing. Now, in this, we finance every part of this ecosystem. We do retail financing, we do wholesale financing, and we do life cycle product financing. If you take the logistics sector, which is this whole ecosystem, it is about $200 billion in size. Now, what does that mean? It means the logistics sector today is organized, it's formal, and I think players have to play. Players like us, we need to be ubiquitous and we need to be playing the game all over. So what got us here will not get us to industry leadership in the next 4 to 5 years. The last 4 years, our journey, from 17,000 crores assets under management, by God's grace, we are right now at about 44,000 assets under management. So it has been a 2.5 times growth, but primarily led by the new vehicle financing and the dealer financing. But the next 5 years, to my mind, is going to be very different. The next 5 years, the whole fuel shift, I think electric vehicles is going to be a very big play for us. Used vehicle is going to be a very big play because of the scrappage policy. The used vehicle market is going to become more and more exciting because more affordable and good vehicles, life-worthy vehicles will be available. And also life cycle products like fuel financing, tire financing, which helps in running of the vehicle, is going to be an important part for us. Now, what does a company like Tata Motor Finance do, which has traditionally we have a 60 years of history into new vehicle financing. We have formulated something called to become an industry leader in the next 4 to 5 years and becoming dominant in the logistics sector. We call it internally 5 Ds. The first D is called develop. So we are developing our people. We are developing our people as complete bankers. We don't want bankers who only understand vehicle financing. We want bankers who understand the entire life cycle of the customer. So develop our people, develop our products. Our products are very innovative. We are cash flow financiers. We don't only focus on the collateral or the underlying collateral. We also look at the cash flow and the times and periods of time when the customer's income come into play, where the loan can be serviced. So develop products and develop partnership. We have to develop partnership with the fintech players. They're much more faster. They're much more agile. They just have conquered the digital world, and we have to partner with them. A physical world company like Tata Motor Finance have to make that game happen. So this is the first D. The second D is called digitize. Now, we are digitizing ourselves for providing better experience to our customers, to provide a faster turnaround time, because customers today are impatient. We have to ensure that we are able to catch hold of them, and within 48 hours, we are able to give a loan approval to the customer. And today, I think we have a credit approval bot called SAM. And I think SAM has done wonders for us in different PIN codes of the country. We are financing 11,000 PIN codes of the country. Out of 17,000 PIN codes, we are financing there. So I think that helps us to increase the reach through digitization. And third, through digitization, we are trying to ensure that the customer is able to have a hybrid model, physical model as well as hybrid model. So this is digitization for you. And the third one, the third D, is called diversify. We believe our used vehicle book today is only 5,000 crores. And our life cycle product is only 200, 300 crores. Life cycle product meaning fuel financing, things like tire financing. This book will grow very fast. Electric vehicle is only 200, 300 crores for us. So we will diversify into this business. And the fourth D, which we have, is called divest. In our business, we are a capital guzzling business. Now, people don't have unlimited capital. So what we do, we are now partnering with banks. All these, assets which we have financed, which are largely entrepreneurial, entrepreneurs whom we have financed, they qualify as MSME. You would have heard this, segment MSME. It's very popular. The government is promoting entrepreneurship in the country. Banks are hungry to take MSME assets in their books. So we have now become suddenly a financial warehouser where we first curate the asset for 6 months and then we sell the asset to the banks. So that is called divest. And the fifth D, which we call, is known as deliver. So we want to deliver very, very strong customer loyalty, very strong customer centricity, satisfaction, a very good climate for employees. And, the gender agnostic, we want to have a very strong employee engagement culture. And we are ROE focused as well. While our customers make money, we would also like to make money to satisfy our shareholders. So these 5 Ds of develop, digitize, diversify, divest, and deliver is going to hold us in good stead to serve the logistics sector, which is $200 billion, and come out of this stereotype of a vehicle financing company. I think that will help us because the automotive system is no more just about vehicles, it's about the entire ecosystem.
Samrat, I'm listening to you. First of all, I'm going to borrow this 5 Ds, but listening to you, I have to compliment you. I felt I'm talking to a startup entrepreneur who's, thinking of disrupting themselves. And before the interview, I was just thinking I'm talking to a financing company, but now I just, what you said, that you're an ecosystem player and you're thinking about what's future and how to serve the future. And yeah, kudos to you.
Thank you for that.
Anand, my question to you, Tata Motors Finance has been able to grow in the last few years with whatever has been happening. You've been able to grow. What would you tell us? Like, how have you been able to disrupt the market?
So I think I think we did hear about the philosophy and probably the growth. I think Samrat did cover from 17,000 to now 43,000 crore. I think let me try to take specifically let me try to take probably from the last 1 year, which I think the pandemic year. So the year 2020 was indeed a pretty challenging year. But I think our approach, what we took when we started the year in March and April, I think was to be close to our end customers, close to the Tata Motors dealers. And of course, I think be close to our parent Tata Motors. I think that was a time where I think the cash flows of everybody had dried up. And I think what we did is that we connected with our customers and specifically initially just to understand the well-being. And then I think understanding what the problems are, what is the way in which Tata Motor Finance can help. And then I think as and when I think at that particular point of time, we got the support from our board of directors also. I think we had something like 4 or 5 board meetings in March, April, and May. And then we started coming out with the products to help our customers. They start with, I think, the dealers were the first one where it was all about, I think, because the revenues were zero. So I think to come with a simple working capital loans or the working capital cash flows, their entire claim discounting. So we did close to 350 crore support to the dealers. Then I think government started coming out with the various schemes. One of them was the emergency credit loan. So we were the first NBFC, I think, who went ahead and I think did the emergency credit loan. Until now, I think we have done close to 70,000 odd customers. Now, I think these were the things what we did. And I think that is what I think focused that when the demand came back, I think September, October, when the demand started coming back, I think the dealers, Tata Motors and end customer did appreciate it that I think this is an organization which was standing for a period which was a difficult period. And I think there were the months in April and May, our market share in Tata Motors vehicles was close to 40-45%. Standard, our market share in commercial vehicle remains at around 30-31 odd percent. And I think the dealers, the end customers, and I think this is the way how the business automatically started growing up. And if you ask me, many of the NBFCs, when we saw that who had gone into the collections mode, but at least with ourselves, we did not stop the lending. And our belief from start was that economy will bounce back faster than I think what economists were predicting. Hence, I think on the one side, I think we were raising money, and second side, we were not shying away from the disbursement. And as an organization, as a good Samaritan, I think we did not lay off any of our employees. We not only took care of our on-roll employees, but at the same time, the collection executives, the sales executives, which are primarily the off-roll executives, I think we did not lay off a single employees. And once the demand came back, I think we were prepared to grab the demand. I think when we started this year, we were at around 38,000 crore of the AUM. And we are going to end the year, a pandemic year, with a growth of around close to 12-13% at around 43,000 crores. So if you ask me what has been the drivers of the growth, I think I will only say that just be close to the customer when the customer needs you. Being an NBFC, just offering the cheapest money is not the strength what you can have. It is the customer relationship. It is providing a solution what meets the customer requirement. At many of the cases, I think banks try to fit their products to the customer. I think our approach is once we understand what the customer's requirement is, and we try to fit our product or based on the requirement what can suit the customers. I think these are the things which has been the key driver for the growth for last year and even I think a few years before that.
You know, Anand, what I'm also taking from what you answered is that one very important thing also was while you were very, very close and listening to your customers is that you responded with a lot of agility. You said that, you know, April, May, so you were not sitting, you responded, you acted very fast. And the second thing also what I'm taking is that, you know, you were not conservative when everyone, you know, was thinking that, okay, now let's stop lending. Because, you know, last year I've been speaking to a lot of entrepreneurs in the lending space and there was a lot of, you know, skepticism. And in that moment, you continued to lend because you were standing with your customers. And that has paved, you know, that has played a significant role in your growth this year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think to just extend the point, I think 27th or 28th of the March, Reserve Bank came with the moratorium. I think we had the board meeting on the very next, and by 29th March, IT solution for the moratorium was up and running with us. But I think probably the digitization has also been one of the key factor. According to me, COVID has been the biggest push for the digitization. The kind of the work what the IT technology team, the digitization initiatives, what has happened in the 6-7 months, I think when many of us were operating at home, I think it's remarkable. I think probably, and this is the close to 400,000 customers opting for the moratorium. Disbursing the loan by the entire operations team was sitting at home. But not a single loan which we were disbursing was we came back and said that this cannot happen. The entire sales process, the entire collection process, I think it was happening through and there were many small programs, many, I think, interfaces which got developed. So I think, yes, I think this is, I think when the crisis came, I think that's what I started by saying that as a resilient organization, the team stood up to the occasion. And that's why I think this year, at least the AUM will grow by 14-15% in a year, which I think probably everybody is saying it's a pandemic year.
You know, I have to thank digitization. And I have to say all of you are extremely agile because I'm so happy that I'm talking to Tata Motors Finance because I never thought that I'll be talking to Tata Motors Finance because now we are all, you know, having most of our conversation digitally. Yeah. Yeah, Riddhi, that brings me to you. Samrat alluded to this, and he said that this budget was very progressive and very all-encompassing and helpful. But I want to ask you your thoughts on the recent budget.
Sure, thanks. So I would say, this budget being the first budget for the decade, right, was a pro-growth budget, was very positive and a forward-looking budget. If you look at the allocation that has been given to the various segments, sectors, be it infrastructure, healthcare, or the reforms for MSME, reforms for financial sectors, it has been very, very positive, and it will bring a growth impetus to the entire corporate sector.
Yeah.
If we look at Tata Motor Finance, we are into our 80-85% of the financing happens to the commercial vehicle segment. So if we look into the allocation that has been done by the budget, be it the infrastructure allocation, where the demand will come up for the construct segment, tipper segments, and the heavy commercial vehicles, or the allocation that has been done for specific 18,000 crores which has been allocated for the bus segment, which again will give a demand for the ailing commercial vehicle segment. And the projects like the new projects, the transport projects, Metro Neo kind of projects that have been announced in the budget, will definitely be a positive for the last mile transportation and the light commercial vehicle segment. Another announcement which came up in this budget, which again I think is a positive, while the details are still awaited, is the voluntary vehicle scrappage policy, which will certainly bring up some demand for the commercial vehicle and the passenger vehicle segments. MSME announcements whichever has been done, it is as Samrat mentioned, that 80-85% of our customers are MSME customers. So the announcements and the measures which have been announced by the Finance Ministry for MSME will definitely help us not only on the disbursements, on the demand side, but also on the collection side. So I would say, in nutshell, the budget has been very positive for the corporates, for the economy, and a forward-looking budget.
Anand spoke about it, that this has been, in the pandemic year, you have grown. But I want to ask you, in June last year, Tata Motors Finance said that about 3/4 of its loan book was under moratorium. Now, from then until now, how has it improved, and how has it improved?
So Shraddha, I think our asset quality, has improved significantly. If I were to put it in numbers terms, for a layman to understand, the total collections that we did as a percentage of the total collectible for the months of October, November, December, and even January, it has been more than 100%, which itself is a very positive sign. And on the asset solvency side, when a NBFC is, measured, it is generally the GNPA ratios and the asset solvency ratios which are looked at. So if we look at our numbers, we are at the pre-COVID levels, which again is a positive sign and a reassuring metric for us. So yeah. I would say it's significantly improved.
Samrat, this is a question to you. I had the fortune to talk to a lot of ministers and the finance minister in this pandemic a couple of times, and with the prime minister in the interaction, the focus is a lot on building and creating entrepreneurs, because if India has to grow, then we need a lot more entrepreneurs in our country. And you've spoken about how you're focusing on MSMEs and Tata Motor Finance is empowering MSMEs. I want to understand from you, how have you enabled folks to start up and start their own businesses?
So, we are very proud. We have a tagline in our company, and we call it nation building through money lending. We are money lenders, and we believe that we can focus on nation building. Objective is very, very simple. Can we fast forward the future for our customers? And a customer who might come from a varied background, not necessarily everybody is from St. Stephen's College. There are many people who come from varied backgrounds in this country. And we have seen that people who have not been graduates, who come from different parts of the country, you take Rajasthan, you take Uttar Pradesh, you take Bihar, I think extremely hardworking people And if education is not necessarily the only ability to have an income, commercial vehicle is an income earning asset. And we have got years and years of risk management practice where we are able to understand, while you may not have the ability to pay, we will try and understand the inclination to pay. If there is an inclination to pay, and if there is an application where our customers can put the vehicle and he or she can start the livelihood and his or her career by plying the vehicle and plying into the logistics sector, we will know that that particular inclination needs to be fast forwarded. So in our book, we will have at this point of time close to 500,000 customers, and out of the 500,000 active customers, almost 350,000 customers will be first-time users. Wow. First-time users are these kind of customers who come forth. How does it help Tata Motor Finance from purely an economic purpose? It helps in increasing the market share for Tata Motors Limited, because we are inviting, it's a call to have a livelihood out of a commercial vehicle. And this is how we want to progress into the nation. Now, as I said to you, Shraddha, we are financing in 11,000 PIN codes. It's my dream to see we are financing 17,000 PIN codes. And if you are having the risk management ability, we are able to create, that social entrepreneurship, that fabric can be created. And I think that will help, promote Tata Motors vehicle all over the country. And it's a great business to be in. If you take 4 years, in 4 years, if you are able to finance a livelihood, and along with the livelihood, we also finance working capital requirements. So you need to finance the fuel, because in a gray economy, fuel comes at 30% interest rate. We don't finance that way. Since our customers, we are very close to them. We are financing their fuel. We are financing their repairs. We are financing their FASTags. Today, your toll plays a very important role in interstate. And I think that helps in developing an overall, nation towards this logistics sector. At the same time, we want to ensure that we are keeping our book clean. This MSME book, which we procure, we also help banks, because banks want to take priority sector lending credit, because when they do priority sector lending, they get it at a cheaper rate. So after 6 months of seasoning in our books, we also sell it to the banks. In that way, you will be surprised, our 43,000 crore book, close to about 10 to 15,000 crore book is in the bank's balance sheet. And we are managing the sourcing and we are managing the collection. And we are owning the customer. Our objective is we are closer to the customer. Banks are closer to the money. Can you warehouse it? And can you fulfill that fast forwarding of the future to do nation building through money lending?
Samrat, I have to ask you one more question, and you spoke about it earlier, that you're partnering with fintech players. Fintech is big. India is today globally being recognized for the fintech innovation with UPI, with so many things that we've done. And we have so many fintech startups in the country which have come. And also just to mention, we've seen the kind of capital being invested in the fintech segment. And fintech, a lot of startups in the lending space. I want to understand from you, how do you see that?
We are a learning organization, and we need to learn from fintechs. The speed with, they are also entrepreneurs. We don't know how to finance fintechs because we are focusing only on commercial vehicles. Probably in a month, I would be meeting so many bright individuals who have, made and disrupted this space. Coming back to basics, I think what fintech has done in the last 10 years, they have disrupted the personal loan market, they have disrupted the small ticket loan market, and they have disrupted the digital technology. So fintech, many a times they say that they are a data-driven company because the kind of data they are capture, they are able to do the lending. I think there are 2-3 areas where the fintechs have moved much, much ahead compared to the traditional banks or non-banks like us. One, I think they are able to offer, over, online medium, they're able to offer the platform that has become so powerful because of the kind of participation that is there. And I think we love that platform. We would really like to partner with fintechs in that platform. One specific example I'll give you is a bill discounting platform, where, suppliers are supplying goods or, components to OEMs. And OEMs will probably pay after 60 days or 90 days as per their credit terms, but the supplier needs to run the business. And I think those invoices which they have raised available on a perfectly auctionable space through many fintech players. And these invoices can be purchased out by financiers like us. I think that offers a great partnership model for us. The second is P2P. I think, we would have financed some of our customers, and now we want to refinance that out. And there are many individuals who are coming onto the P2P platforms, and we can actually sell those assets off to in smaller packets off to the P2P platform. And to my mind, I think that's a very big partnership we can do with fintech. The second area, I think fintechs, not necessarily fintechs are only into digital loans. Fintechs are also into financial advisory and also making apps that make it that make a credit decision so very powerful. Whether it is analysis of a balance sheet, whether it is analysis of a bank statement, whether it is an analysis of complicated holding company structures of SME borrowers, I think it's all there. We have a platform called Turbo. Now, Turbo is our loan origination system. So how does it work? We have got at least 10 to 15 APIs tied up with fintech companies. The guys who are specialists in doing the bank statement analysis, we provide the info, and at a cost, they will give us the bank statement analysis before we do the credit decision. And guys who have the ability to do the financial analysis, the credit decision will belong to Tata Motor Finance. But we have tied up with all the fintechs who provide us these services. It actually helps in a much, much more faster and a much better decision making as far as credit is concerned. So I think these are the two areas, to my mind, fintech has disrupted. As far as payment solutions are concerned, well, I think it's proven that payment solutions, the fintech is the only way to go. Unfortunately, we do not have too many ways to tie up with them. Yes, we are participating in their payment gateways, but the first two are very valuable for us. I have deep respect for all the fintechs out there, and I truly believe that along with this whole government push of entrepreneurship, if fintechs are also promoted in a big way, I think it's going to disrupt this economy in the next 3 to 5 years.
Samrat bhai, it's very encouraging to see what you are and hear what you're saying. What you are saying is that you are partnering with different players in the ecosystem, and it doesn't even matter if they're small or big, as long as they're innovative and they help you serve your customer better. So you're open to partnering with companies and startups.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Anand, question to you. Retail lending or wholesale lending, which business will see faster growth?
I think both the businesses are going to grow if I look into. In our case, our wholesale business, I think what we discussed is primarily to cater Tata Motors ecosystem, which is primarily dealers and vendors of Tata Motors. I think the current book of wholesale is around close to 3,000 odd crores, which is like close to 10% of our book. I think so. When I talk about from a potential perspective, I think there is huge potential to grow this business. So when I look into from the next couple of years, so in percentage terms, needless to say, I think this book will grow faster. I think this is also a business which we started around 3 to 4 years back. And I think we were building gradually because we were also learning that what are the best way to manage the risk and what is the best way to, I think, to grow this particular book. Retail, I think it's our bread and butter business. I think the current book is around 40,000 crores. And out of which around 35,000 crore is the new vehicle business and 5,000 crore is the used vehicle. I think next year, automotive sector is going to do well. I think whatever the demand, what we can see now. So new vehicle, I think it will grow as per as and when the Tata Motors volumes also come in. And I think with some market share growth, I think what we plan to do. A used vehicle, I think this is another piece of business which is our focus area. With many of the things like I think the prices with the BS6 coming in, the prices of the BS4 vehicles, I think coming back. There is some supply shortage of the select models of the products and plus the scrappage policy. So used vehicle is also going to do well. I think that business is also going to outperform from a growth perspective as compared to new vehicle in percentage term. But to simple answer, the percentage growth, I think wholesale business in absolute growth, I think it's the retail which will be the core growth impetus for us.
What, according to you, has been the biggest impact that Tata Motors Finance has been able to create as an organization, as an industry, for customers?
Okay, so I think let me take from a customer's perspective. I think we did cover that. I think we do create a lot of entrepreneurs. I think, and we are extremely proud with our 60 years of legacy that there are, I think, many customers whose first credit exposure of their life was taken through Tata Motors Finance. And this is the indeed, I think, what Samrat mentioned, the nation building through money lending, going to the unbanked segment, going to the segment, I think, where the banks or other players are not ready to fund. And I think from a customer's perspective, the point what I earlier also covered, I think the key is to be close to the ground, to understand the cash flows, how the cash flows of the customers are going to, because India is such a huge country. What you see in the north is not necessarily is going to be true in the south. So you need to understand what are the cycles of the cash flows. And then I think coming out with the specific schemes which helps customer, that ensures that the viability remains. And at the same time, I think mitigate the risk. I think anything from whether it is scheme, whether it is the money lending practices, I think the key is the risk management. And I think with the last 15 years of the operations in the current form of Tata Motor Finance, what we have been operating, I think the data what we were able to collate or what we are able to collect, that plays a significant role for us. From a customers, I think to answer your questions again, I think first, I think the impact, I think to continue to be the practice of the nation building through money lending, that is the I think the biggest impact what we have been able to create for the customers.
If you could also answer this question, how relevant is B2C customer centricity in B2C businesses? And if you could talk about that and what you're doing in that direction.
See, I think, one of our prime reason why we exist is our vision is enabling economic success, fulfilling aspirations. So I think what happens out there is you have to be how does that happen? How does customer centricity happen on the B2C segment? In our kind of business, the customer will always come to the distributor first. The distributor are necessarily the dealers, who are, the Tata Motors dealers. The first way to promote B2C is be absolutely loyal to the distribution network. Why I say this? Financiers have this temptation that they cannibalize deals from one distributor to the other. So if you go to any of the dealers, the odd 500 dealers we serve, everybody will say that Tata Motor Finance stands for it doesn't cannibalize a single deal. So whichever customer is walking into that particular dealership and distributorship, we respect that, and we do not move the deal from one dealer counter to the second dealer counter. What happens out there? You have promoted a culture of business integrity, that is available for you to experience in the showroom where the dealers are performing. Now, then comes the customers, the end customers who are coming to the show. We have broken our company into 68 zones, and every zone has a CEO. So they are known as the zonal business heads. They are empowered to take a decision to go utmost to fulfill the customer centricity out there. So we do not have, the rules are there, all the rules are there for lending. But when you have to go and fulfill a customer's requirement, you need to be you have to be firm on the principle, but you have to be flexible in your approach. So a CEO is able to have that empowerment. So we have that empowerment available to the 68 CEOs in the country to serve the B2C network. The third is key account management. We have got key account management capabilities where people are able to cross-sell all kinds of products and services to the customers basis their requirement. We don't try to, we are a bespoke financier. We don't go and, say that, this is the product, one size will fit all. So as I said, the bespoke financing requires key account management. The other part which we do, as I said, I'm learning from the fintech industry, digital for experience. If we have digital for experience, A customer doesn't need to come to a branch. We will ensure either digitally where we are available in the customer's home, at the customer's home, or we will be there available at the customer's home. So that is the mindset we are bringing in. The last and most important thing is cash flow based new products. In our kind of industry, Shraddha, if you just have a 48 EMI, I think you will have more defaults. We don't do it that way. What we do, we have got bullet structures. You pay only 60% of the loan for the first 36 months and then you pay the bullet in the end. We will help you to refinance that bullet. We will help you to finance that cash flow. Or we do residual value. In our business, the underlying value of the truck is also very important when you sell the asset. So we help the customer to sell that asset as well. Not many financiers would do that. Then unequated EMIs. In a particular application, let's say flower or vegetable, or let's say a farming, I think post monsoons, the crop, I think you will get a better cash flow. So we will not charge you any EMI. We'll have a very light EMI in the beginning, and then only during the monsoon time, we will have that kind of EMI. So I think that kind of product structures help us to attract the B2C segment. And last but not least, the measure. The measure is the Net Promoter Score, the transaction level, the customer satisfaction. It's extremely important to capture the customer experience out there. Feedbacking, looping the feedback of the customer. How do we loop back and we change our process? So I think our hymn book continuously changes based on the feedback of the customer. And proof of the pudding is repeat business. The B2C repeat business for us is 70%. It used to be some 40% in 2015, 2016. Today, 70% of our business is repeat. And today, we are, telling our story to your platform. You will find many customers who are rags to riches story, where Tata Motors Finance continued to finance them for the last 15 years. And these stories are untold stories because they may not be sophisticated, but this is the story of entrepreneurship of India. This is the rural story of India. And I think that's how we have driven customer centricity.
Are there any plans to borrow from the market, or are you planning to raise equity from your parent company or investors?
I think it's a good question, given we spoke about growth. So for us, growth is like Goddess Lakshmi, it's always welcome. So, see, for an NBFC, which is into asset financing, it's a capital intensive industry, I would say. So every 100 rupees which we lend, 15 rupees has to be from the equity as per the regulations, and the 85 comes from the borrowings. So, what Samrat mentioned, the 5 Ds that we have, the 5 D strategy that we have got. One of the D is divest. So for supporting the growth and to bring the growth capital into the system in TMF, there are 2 strategies that we are closely working on. The first strategy is the asset light strategy. Now, what does it mean for a layman? What does it mean? So we, as I mentioned, 80 to 85% of our customers are MSME customers. And this is a sweet spot for the banks. For them, this is like a PSL customer. So what essentially we do is we source the customers, we house the customers, house the loan in our books, curate the loan, and then downsell the loan to these banks. It's a win-win for both of us, given the partnership. We have got around 30 to 35 banking partnerships that we have developed over the period, both on the private sector side as well as on the public sector side. So what is there for the banks? They get, the PSL credits. And for us, we are able to effectively utilize the existing capital, release that capital, and is available for the new loans that we want to do. And it supports the growth. Yeah. That's one strategy that is there. The second strategy, as I think Samrat mentioned, that we are close to the customers and banks are close to the cheaper funds, right? So in fact, RBI is also promoting co-origination, co-lending strategies where NBFCs have got access to tier 2, tier 3 cities and towns. So that is another strategy that we are working on, where we are tying up with the banks for co-lending, co-sourcing, where we will act as a sourcing and collection agent, and those loans will be housed on the bank's balance sheet. So again, it's a win-win for both of us, and we can support the growth. So with these strategies, I am very, very confident that we will support the growth and we'll provide the necessary, returns to our shareholders in the form of better ROEs and the ROAs.
Tata Group has such a huge brand equity. I just have to say very quickly that I raised venture capital money from a lot of very premium investors. And my father, he stays in Patna in Bihar, and I couldn't tell him because he doesn't understand. And I raised it after running business for many years. But you know how parents are, they don't understand, and of course they'll not understand that why did you have to raise capital. But when I got money from Mr. Tata, then I called my father in Patna, and I told him, Papa, Tata Group se paisa mila hai, Mr. Ratan Tata diye. You know, so basically, I thought that maybe he will understand. So he understood that kuch sahi ki hai. I want to ask all of you, you know, what is you working in Tata Group? You are doing, you're lending money to so many, and as I hear that to so many first-time people in this country. What does it mean, like for you, your work? What did you enjoy? What gives you the joy about what you do? If I can ask, and if all of you can please answer.
What gives me satisfaction? I think Tata. I have completed now. This May, I will complete 20 years in Tata Group. Wow. And I have worked in the 3 companies in the Tatas, in Motors, in Tata Technologies, and now in Tata Motor Finance. I think it has become a way of life, how you conduct your life. And, there are certain values which you carry, and you have to live these values. And more recently, Tata Motor Finance, I think what has met with success for us, we had tried to convert these values into something which we have inculcated, and it has become habits for us. And that is known as, in Tata Motor Finance, the wolf pack culture. So we call it the wolf pack culture. This culture is called hunting together, working together, and winning together. I think the most important word is together. And while we do this, we do it with utmost business integrity. You will be surprised, Shraddha, for the last 4 years, our employee engagement scores have shot through the roof. I think 94-95% have been our employee engagement scores. We have ensured that, this culture is about kindness, but it is also about courage. Because I think you have to be kind, but you have to be courageous as well. These are some of the values which, Mr. Tata, current, Group Chairman Chandra, I think they have taught us. You have to be kind to the customer, but you also have to be, courageous to come up with that solution that will work. Like Anand very nicely mentioned, when everybody was, shying away from lending, we came and did the lending and stood close to the customer. That requires courage. That requires a lot of conviction of what we believe in. And to my mind, these are the values which give so much of personal satisfaction to see that, what we have been able to create. We are not owners of Tata Motor Finance. We are employees, but we are founding members of Wolfpack. So this Wolfpack culture you will find everywhere in any of the forums. And if anybody you touch across, whether it is Tata Motors Finance employees or whether it are the dealers of Tata Motor Finance or whether the customers, I think they talk very proudly about the Wolfpack culture. This January, I was invited by Tata Sons to come and talk about that. What does this culture signify? And I think this culture only signifies one thing. What Mr. Tata had mentioned many years back. A promise is a promise. We have to keep up to our promise. And I think that held us in good state. Yeah.
I think let me give you personal experience. I think I've spent now close to 15 years in the group in the 3 different ways. And if I go back, and I'll give a very simple one-line answer. I think we had grown. We used to see an ad and we used to see the complete man. And I think with the Tata Group, I think the experience is a complete professional. I think the independence, integrity, growth, and, I think this whole culture of doing the right things, right? I think that is what as a professional, what you enjoy. And needless to say, I think you will hear that the name comes with the trust and the name comes with a lot of pride. So I think as a professional, it becomes our responsibility that we continue to carry, because the moment I think we have this badge, I think there is an automatic responsibility what comes to you And that's how I think you see that you have at least you can become a good and a complete professional. Needless to say, I think the kind of the people what I have seen in the last 15 years, I think it's been an amazing experience. Whether I talk about my bosses or if I talk about my reportees, I think what I have worked with, and to take it to the next level, I think the same thing what you see when you deal with the customers. I think many times when you hear and when we talk to the customer, Tata ki gaddi, Tata ka finance. I think that is a motto, and many of the customers, if you go and you will find our life's motto is this only: ki Tata ki gaddi lenge, Tata ka finance lenge. So that is the name, that is the brand. I think what is created, and we need to ensure that we live up to that name. I think what the people who had worked before us, I think what they have done.
So, Shraddha, for me, so I have worked in multiple organizations prior to when I joined Tata's 8 years back. So I have worked with, the foreign multinationals as well as the Tata, which is, Indian multinational. I would just answer the question that you asked in single word. Tata for me is trust, Trust, when whosoever sees Tata attached in the name, or if you are carrying a Tata iCard or a Tata visiting card or whatever it is, whatever you say, people just trust you. So there's a blind trust which is there, which is attached to this brand. So as rightly mentioned by Anand, we are responsible to protect the values that has been created by our forefathers and by Mr. Tata for making this brand, which is like, I would say, people equal this brand to a sovereign guarantee kind of thing. So it's a trust, a blind trust.
Thank you so much. Very informative and very inspiring conversation. Thank you so much. Look forward to chatting with you again in due course and see how Tata Motors Finance is growing.